God it's Friday, Friday, dun, da, da, da. Thank God it's Friday. Yes, it's Friday, and we are excited to be here on Cactv to give you the newspaper review. And this is the morning dew. It's such a delight to be here. I remain yours truly, Mother Dominic.
And I'm with you, Oladipo. Good morning, Modot.
Good morning. Happy New Month.
Same to you.
And this your native is again.
Now, wow.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at the news making headlines, and then we'll also motivate ourselves with a quote for the day. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Yes, welcome back from that quick break. The morning dew newspaper reviews is just about to begin. So, but first, let's take a look at our quote for the day. You know, it's the new month, and we need to motivate ourselves. We need to encourage ourselves from the word of God. So what's the word of God telling us today? What's it saying to you and I today? We'll be taking a look at the book of Philippians 4 verse 6. And it says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all that he has done. I'll take that again. Philippians 4:6 says, do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. God has everything you need. Thank him for what he has given to you, for all that he has done. Thank him for all that he has done. So I'll take that phrase that says, don't worry about anything. Rather, pray about everything. That's my word for you today. It's a new month. You may not have accomplished all that you've planned for throughout January to to this very point where we are in December. You may have encountered a lot of challenges, but I am here today, just as the book of Philippians is encouraging you and I, saying, do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Prayer is the key. You remember when we were back then in secondary school, we used to say, prayer is the key, prayer is the key. Prayer is the master key. Jesus started with prayer and ended with prayer. Prayer is the master key. Yes, prayer is the master key that opens every door. So rather than complain about the things that you have not achieved, pray about all the things that you have not achieved and the things that you are yet to achieve, because God wants you to have everything, because in him there is everything. He has everything in store for you and I. So thank him for all that he has done, because he is going to come through for you. Before this year runs out, I declare to someone out there that God will come through for you. He will meet you at every point of your need. You will testify that indeed 2023 was a great year, and we will all testify of God's goodness. Okay, so that is how much we can take for the quote of the day. So let's dive right into the newspaper review. As always, we'll be starting with the Punch newspaper. So what's the Punch telling us today? The first story from the Punch says, CBN fund, Senate threatens to order gas companies probe. The Senate Committee on Gas Resources probing the 135 billion naira Central Bank of Nigeria Gas Intervention Fund has said it will invite anti-graft agencies to join the ongoing investigation. The panel gave the threat when the affected companies, numbering 14, appeared before it on Thursday to defend the utilization of the CBN loans they collected. The lawmakers described as unacceptable the alleged lack of synergy between the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the CBN on the project. They also queried the discriminatory disbursement of the fund to the beneficiaries and wondered why some firm collected more than the 10 billion naira credit limited. The chairman of the committee, Senator Jaribe, collected the records of the beneficiaries and the locations of their projected sites for immediate investigation. Jaribe lamented that the funds released under the gas expansion and intervention fund were inappropriately assessed. He further said the task of the committee is to ensure that the companies actually expanded the funds on what they collected it for. Okay, so that's the first story that we have from the Punch. So you can see that the CBN is threatening the order of gas companies. You know, this is what happens where there is no supervision of fund, when funds have been given out and then there is no supervision, and this is why we have to come back and have back and forth. So I'm wondering why this is making headlines, because there is no supervision. Engineer Ola keeps saying this all the time, that when they can't account for anything, you know, going back and forth on how it's been spent would be a problem. So, Engineer Ola, what's your take on this?
Well, I am not surprised at all. But we thank God for the part the Senate Committee on Gas Resources is treading now, if they will be very sincere to the end. Because we can now see the beginning, and then we have not had anything at all. Because if such huge amount of money is being given out by government, 135 billion naira from central bank to the appropriate companies as intervention, you know, and the money is not well spent, what will be the consequential result? The fact is that now you can now see the gas price has skyrocketed. Why? But thanks to the Senate Committee on Gas Resources that is giving us the information that we now want to look into how this money was disbursed. But when you go through the news, you realize that the money was disbursed inappropriately.
Exactly.
Because some people collected more than what they're supposed to collect. If a company has to collect, let's say, about 10 billion naira, and you are collecting more, that is the credit facility given to you, that from this 135 billion central bank intervention fund, your company has to collect 10 billion naira. And when you get to the site where the company construction is located, nothing on the ground. What happens to the money? That's why the Senate Committee under Jaribe for Gas Resources is now saying that we are going to invite other agencies like EFCC, all the anti-graft agencies in the country, to assist to probe this. And again, when you now look at it holistically, you realize that there is no due processing at all. There should be synergy between the Central Bank of Nigeria and NNPC, because this gas resources is under NNPC.
Exactly.
There's no synergy between the both of them. The NNPC is supposed to conduct the interview. These are the companies that are qualified for this loan, for this intervention loan. But when you go to NNPC, you realize that there is no detailed record about that. Even their recommendations were not followed. Those companies just went to CBN and collected the loan. And the loan was not well spent. The intervention fund was not well spent. That's why the Senate Committee is now looking to the matter. You know, if the government of today continue on that path, many pages will be uncovered.
Exactly.
Because we are now seeing there's hardship in the country, but the money is being diverted to some
Wrong spenders.
yes, some wrong spenders. And so people are now saying, why is the price of gas is now going up? Because we are now moving to gas. When the vehicles are that have started coming in, that will be using CNG, what will happen then? This is one of the reasons that is we are now seeing. So the committee has invited 14 companies, and then realized that they said, okay, we are going to the site to inspect the site and see what you have done. We want to find out how the money was spent. What happens to the money? We want to know. So that there should be synergy between the NNPC and CBN. But now the CBN, without consulting NNPC, without making any reference, give out the loans to the people they like, they want, they wish. So when you continue in this zeal, all these capital projects in Nigeria will not be done. Because if you are giving 100 naira for a project, and the 100 naira is being diverted to your own personal pocket, what happens to the project? So this is not a very good thing at all. So I just hope that the Senate committee will continue on this zeal. I know that we have had the beginning of the matter now, that we don't know anything about it. That we want the Senate committee on this matter to maintain absolute continuity, so that at the end of the day we can have a very good result. The culprits will be brought to book and they will be dealt with accordingly.
Yeah, that's my wish and expectation as well, because if they are able to probe them properly, would at the end of the day would see that they would come out, or even other people who have the wrong intention to do these things would be able to sit up and do the right thing when they are given funds. Okay, so we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at further stories making headlines. Please stay tuned. Yes, welcome back. It's still the newspaper review on Morning Dew, and we're still taking the review from the Punch newspaper. The second story that we have says new wage begins April. FG votes 24 trillion naira for salaries. The federal government on Thursday said a new minimum wage regime would come into effect on April 1st, 2024. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Idris Mohammed, who disclosed this in an interview with The Punch in Abuja, said the current 30,000 naira minimum wage would expire at the end of March 2023. Mohammed said this on Thursday as an analysis of the 2024 to 2026 fiscal framework budgets by our correspondents indicated that the federal government would spend 24.66 trillion naira on salary in 2024, 2025 and 2026. Following the removal of the fuel subsidy by President Bola Tinubu on May 29, 2023, the federal government agreed to pay 35,000 naira to each of its workers to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. Going further, the organized labor insisted that the 35,000 naira wages award was a temporary measure, adding that the minimum wage should be reviewed in 2024. The federal government team and the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council on October 18, 2019, agreed on the implementation of the 30,000 naira minimum wage after months of negotiations. However, Labour Union on Thursday confirmed that they had started a negotiation process with the federal government, adding that based on the country's labour law, the minimum wage should be reviewed every 5 years. The Nigeria Labour Congress National President Joe Ajero recently said it is open knowledge that the review of the national minimum wage is a matter of the law, which is expected to happen in 2024. Okay, so first, I'm happy that this is being reviewed, that the AFG is thinking of starting increment on minimum wage for April 2024. But it still beats my imagination, because growing up I still hear that it has always been from, I think, 30,000. This 30,000 naira has lingered for a longer time, and imagine over the years things has changed. Prices of commodities and foods has really changed drastically, and then people are still being paid 30,000 naira. 30,000 naira, that's on a norm. You cannot, spend, that alone will not be enough for you in a week if you have a family of, let's say, minimum of 4 in a family. So how then do they survive? And then now talking about 35,000, I'm like, okay, just an addition of 5,000 naira. How does that help the matter on ground? Okay, so if Labour is still insisting, and then the federal government is saying that, okay, by 2024, they will start paying, they will do have the increment in salary. But I'm like, how well will this new wage, help the situation of those who are being paid this minimum wage? Engineer Ola.
Well, if you look very deeply into the matter, the government awarded 35,000 naira wage award as a temporary measure because of this subsidy removal process. But when you look at the economy of the country now, you realize even at that, earning minimum of 50,000 naira per month cannot survive you in this economy. And when you look at the budget, the government, this is the budget of the expenses we will incur this year. The budget only give about 30% out of the budget to the salary. That is 29.9% thereabout as for the salary. And then the budget is not mentioning more about capital expenditure, but talking about recurrent expenditures, which includes salary. You understand? Because these are the amount of money, the money you are spending every time is coming, it's recurring at every time you plan a new budget, it will be there. So you have little amount of money to spend on capital projects. How will you develop the nation? Now coming back again to the salary, 35,000 naira minimum wage that the government is giving out now as a temporary measure to cushion the effect of subsidy removal is not doing anything. Come April 1st, 2024, that will be the new regime of new salary increment, new structure. The states, in quote, are they prepared to accommodate this? Are they prepared, okay, for this? Can they be able to pay this amount of money? Even as at now, how many states can afford to pay this minimum wage salary? Is the problem. So economists, like I've been saying, they have to come back again to the round table and sit down. How are we going to implement this budget that it will favor Nigerian economy? Somebody has been saying that what we are saying that, okay, by in 8 years' time, Nigeria will be able to achieve $1 trillion into the economy in Nigeria. How visible is this? We don't want it to appear hypothetical, that it's theoretical in nature. We will not be able to achieve it. But when we stand on the right path, we'll be able to get to where we are going. But as far as the minimum wage is concerned, Labour is doing their best that people will not suffer. At the same time, when we look into the economy, how many states in the country today can afford to pay? Let us be realistic and say 50,000 naira minimum wage. Don't let us build our assumption on 35,000 minimum wage. Let's say 50,000 naira minimum wage. How many states can sustain this? No, that is number one. Then a family in Lagos, can a family in Lagos rely on 50,000 naira? You know, it's not practicable, and which means that at the end of each month, the man affected will go and borrowing. So the next month, when he takes a salary of 50,000 naira, in assumption, he has to pay the loan, maybe 30,000 naira or 20,000 naira. Then again, he will now ask for additional loan. So you'll be living in penury throughout the year. There's no way you can survive except the economy is turned around and the government addresses the problem of the inflation, which boils down to foreign exchange. That is the foreign exchange in the country. Because if the rate of dollar to naira is not properly addressed, it will continue like this.
Okay, so it now brings me to a point where I then wonder why, when it comes to that which concerns the masses, they have to come to a round table. There has to be a back and forth. There has to be a review of it. But when it comes to the lawmakers, people who make law, people who are just sitting down making laws and not doing the hard work like the workers do, they just go and implement it without having to do a rethink of how long. But this has lingered for a longer time. The Labour has been on this case for a while, and then we still have to, and then looking at it, that is going to be extended till second quarter of next year, 2024. But when it comes to the matter that concerns those who are earning in millions of naira, it doesn't linger this long. So how did we get here, and what can be done in earnest, like in the most quickest of time, so that this does not linger for too long?
It's in every country of the world, when the country is preparing budget, you prepare certain budget for smugglers, thieves, armed robbers. That okay, this is the amount of money. If they steal in the economy, will not affect us. But when you look at Nigeria holistically, you realize that most of the funds that are being wasted is not, let me say, not morally justified expenses, but this amount of money goes to the pocket of some people. Like the senators are doing now on gas resources. Look at what they have discovered. You'll be shocked when they come out with the result. It will be okay for all of us if this amount of money is being recovered, and the amount of money is going back to the economy. What do you think will happen to the economy? The economy will grow up. The economy is being sabotaged by some people in this country. Mm-hmm. Now, but the senators, as if they are listening to what you are saying, they are not doing their work. See what they are doing now. That because at the end of the day, everything goes back to them. They have to provide the balance and check to the government. Now the government is saying this is amount of money I want to spend, and the government is giving out the money to some people that okay, spend this money so that we can have this profit, and the money is being diverted. What happens to the budget? There is no way the government can be able to realize the budget if the fund is being wasted. There's problem in Nigerian petroleum sector because the subsidy was removed. CBN came into the picture and gave them some intervention fund. This is what you have to do with the fund so that people can have access to cheaper gases in the country. But some people are putting the money into their own pocket. So that is why everybody is now crying. So the question you are asking now is that the Senate, it appears to many people that they are not doing anything, they are just collecting a bogus amount of money. But they are now coming out to tell us what they are doing. Every day on NTA you watch the Senate proceedings, the proceedings in the Senate, the proceedings in the House of Assembly, House of Reps. You can now conclude from that oh, these people are really working, but we want result. We don't want you to start. Okay, we want to probe this department, and we don't see the result of the probe. People will apportion blame on you. But when you come out and say, okay, this is the result, 10 people or 14 people have been indicted, and this is the amount of money they have to refund, and so number of people will go back to jail, then Nigeria will know the Senate are working. That will answer your question that they are really working. If they can be able to do what they are doing now, like look at the oil theft, Nigerian Navy is doing the best they can do. So these are the people that are sabotaging the economy. There is no way when you plan very well, very beautifully. Some people at the back of the door that they will make sure that you fail. They will drag you down because they will not allow that budget to work properly.
Okay, so at the end of the day, it's still results that we expect, and not just the paperwork that won't give us results. So it's a good one that they started on this note, but we look forward to results of what this is about and how they've been able to spend the money. All right, so taking a look at the next story, still from the Punch. This says Delta APC accuses Oborewori of 50 billion naira contract padding. The Delta State chapter of the All Progressive Congress has accused Governor Sharif of overinflating three flyovers contracts with about 50 billion naira. The party accused Oborewori of overinflating the cost of the project, said to be estimated at 78 billion naira to the tons of 50 billion naira, and expresses a doubt that the project will be completed in the next 8 years. The state publicity secretary of the APC, Mr. Valentine Onodegbo, told South Punch that the governor has arranged a variation of the cost of the project to jack it to 125 billion naira. He said a few weeks ago a group of Delta Contractors Forum raised a red flag when it alerted that the 78 billion naira flyover project was a total fraud, insisting, contrary to the claim by the state government, that the construction company was mobilized with 19 billion naira, which is about 25% of the contract sum. The governor actually fully mobilized Julius Baga with the total cost of 78 billion naira. The Delta Contractors Forum further alleged that the governor connived with the construction company to get a kickback of 50 billion naira, while the governor has arranged a variation of the cost of the project to jack it up to 125 billion naira. With the groundbreaking of the project last Monday, the Delta State APC raised a confirmation alert that indeed the multi-billion naira flyover project was not only a ruse but a conduit pipe to fleece Deltans of over 78 billion naira. However, how can Delta State, with so much resources, be taking about 3 flyovers at this point of its existence, when states like Rivers, under the former governor Nyesom Wike, constructed over 9 flyovers for 63 billion naira before his exit from the government? Okay, so there's still so much question to ask. This also still, goes back to the first story that we just talked about how money has been disbursed to people, and then there's no accountability for the projects that they are being given. And also thinking of the fact that they are conniving with the contractors that they give the job to, also extort from the government. We are complaining day in and day out that there is no fund, we're not doing well, rather than do the project, and then you're looking for means to extort from the government. Then we keep saying there is no money. Engineer Ola, what's your view on that?
Let me go back to what Baba Obasanjo just said. He was asked, what is democracy? Today he said democracy is the government of some people, the government of the people, by some people, for the people. Now, the Delta State chapter of the All Progressive Congress is now accusing Governor Sheriff Oborowori of overinflating this contract. According to him, the contract is 50 billion naira, but he has raised the value of the contract by adding additional 75 billion naira to the contract.
That's
That
crazy.
he has paid huge amount of money to the contractor, but saying that we have only paid we are only paying 25% of the total cost. Well, this thing is coming up. It's now left for the EFCC, the anti-agency, to look into the matter and really find out who is lying. But if what the paper is but what the APC is talking about is the truth, this is not too good. And if we can be able to spend this, that is not even up to this amount of money to construct over nine bridges, flyovers in the state, then something is wrong here. So we can't say anything here because we don't have evidence to prove that what APC are saying that is the truth, or what that they are accusing this man wrongly, or they are accusing him rightly. We can't say anything. But something like this, we have we have legislators in the state. Let them look into the matter and give us a conclusive report on this. Tell the whole nation that it is not true. They are lying against our governor. It is true. But these politicians, when we want to vote for them, and when they start campaigning, they tell you they will do this, they will do that. But where would they get the fund to do it? And then they have spent lots of money to secure the ticket and to win election. What do we expect from them? So this is where the anti-graft agencies have to come into the picture and really scrutinize this contract. Because I've been saying this, that there is no monitoring at all. There should be check and balances. I'm the governor of a state. There must be a law that governs that, okay, whatever I do, this is the agency that wants to check what I am doing. Supervise it and be able to vindicate me or indict me, whichever way. But nothing like that, or it's not being done at all. When the governor is saying, this is the amount of money I want to spend, some people are saying you are lying. Now, from the onset, before they start the project, there's a rift between APC and PDP in the state. So it is better that the government will look into this matter. There must be a check and balances. The governor of a state, you cannot embezzle this amount of money, because this is the way you have to do it. If they are not following due process, then they must be sanctioned. Something must be done about this. The APC may be lying, they may not be lying. We can not actually say anything now until appropriate agency look into the matter and really find out, investigate. And one thing again is that when you are talking about we keep building 9 bridges with this same amount of money, we want to know the materials that were used. We want to know the kind of bridges we want to construct with this huge amount of money. Is it true that we are overinflating the money? Why are you doing this? So I think the proper agency will look into the matter and will have a very conclusive result on it.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Ola. So we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at further stories from Vanguard and also The Sun. Please stay tuned. This is still the Morning Dew. This is still the newspaper review on Morning Dew. Welcome. from that quick break. So we'll be taking a look at the stories making headlines from Vanguard newspaper. So the first story that we have says Supreme Court judgment, tension grips Nasarawa. LAFIA ahead of the Supreme Court judgment on the governorship election in Nasarawa State. There is uneasy calm in the state, and the two leading political parties, the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC) and the opposition People Democratic Party (PDP), on daggers drawing over appeal court judgment which was in a favor of the incumbent Governor Abdullahi Sule. The APC in the state yesterday raised alarm over alleged plan by PDP to orchestrate evil protest over it, the polity of and cause chaos in the state. The PDP had said precedently that the ruling party was being haunted by its shadows. State chairman of APC, Aliyu Bello, at a briefing accused PDP of propagating ethnic and religious incitement through protests directed at bringing disharmony among the people of Nasarawa State, who had been coexisting as citizens over time. He also claimed that since the declaration of Governor Sule as the winner of the March 18 election, PDP had continued to demonstrate divisive tendencies by mobilizing gullible and vulnerable supporters who parade themselves naked on the street and at the party's secretariat. So that's this first story that we have from the Punch. So you can see how like Engineer Law will always say, when a matter is being brought to the court over a certain issue, we always have to leave it for the court to say what they have to say and decide what it is. So, but Engineer Law,
the final judgment lies in the court, so there's no amount of speculation. Whatever we say will not hold any water at all. So we have to wait for the judgment of the court, and whatever the court says is the final. And you know, these politicians, they're like that. They heighten the tension. I want to die. I want to kill you, all over the places until the final judgment. And once the final judgment is pronounced, everybody will go to his respective homes and sit down. Now let's wait for the final judgment of the court.
All right. So we'll take a look at the next story, still from Vanguard. This says 2024 budget. LCCI calls for improved capital expenditure performance. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry (LCCI) has alleged the federal government on the need to scale up the performance of the capital expenditure in the proposed 2024 budget. LCCI gave the charge in reaction to the proposed 2024 budget of 27.5 trillion naira presented to the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday. In a statement made available to Vanguard yesterday, Director General LCCI Dr. Chinyere Almona noted that the proposed 2024 budget is the biggest in the country's history, while highlighting some of the recommendations for implementation. Our words: government must improve its budget performance in terms of capital expenditure in 2024. Over the years, the performance of the capital expenditure has been very low relative to the current expenditure, with implications for the country's infrastructure sector. The situation is worrisome and calls for urgent solution. Okay, so that's the last story that we have from the Vanguard newspaper. Okay, so this is talking about the budget that is called for improved capital expenditure. So, Engineer La, over to you.
What the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry is saying is a real point, because when the government focuses so much on current expenditures, That means you are just spending money on leftovers. What I mean is that, okay, you are servicing them. No, what I mean is that you are paying salaries. You pay more attention on salaries. Like Lagos State, the government is always maintaining the roads, repairing the roads. You understand? When you repair roads, and you are not putting money on capital expenditures, like saying, okay, this is infrastructure that you want to build. Let me go back again to my usual place, which is educational system. You know, if you are given, let's say, 20 billion naira every month to University of Lagos for the staff salaries, for maintenance and other things, that is recurrent expenditure. But we are building hostel facilities, new ones, inside the University of Lagos, that nobody lives outside the university. University is a community where everybody lives, and we are building research centers. You know, you are putting money into capital expenditures. We are building infrastructures. You are improving the condition of the university, and people can learn comfortably. They can acquire their knowledge without any deterrence at all. This is what the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry is saying, that build our industries, put money on infrastructure, develop human infrastructure, develop machine infrastructure. The economy will move. But when you spend so much money circulating, paying salaries, you know, most presidents will come out and say, like a president in one of the nations maybe in Zambia, he said, you know, when they gave me proposal to buy cars, fleet of cars, I said, what is happening to all the cars that we have in the presidency? So they are all okay, they are all good. I will use one of the cars. I'm not buying new cars. So that I can have money to put on capital projects. There are lots of capital projects that are underdeveloped in the country. And again, going back again to fraud. Then you can now see what the Senate are saying over the intervention fund. So there should be proper check and balances. If the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry is now coming up to say this, they know that, oh, this budget, it may not be realistic except these conditions are met. And the condition is that let's not spend less amount of money on recurrent expenditures. If your budget is 100 billion naira and you are spending 80 billion naira on recurrent expenditures, you are not doing anything. That is what Lagos Chamber of Commerce is saying. I do agree with them, and I trade their part, and I hope that the government will take to their advice, because Nigerians are now hungry. We are hungry.
All right, now talking about hunger strike in Nigeria, the Sun has it that in their first story that 7.94.5 million Nigerians starving. That's said by the federal government, and it further says that except something dramatic happens, no fewer than 94.5 Nigerians will face insufficient food consumption, as the estimated 88.5 million naira already experiencing the bands of hunger will be joined by 6 million others by the end of this month. The senior special assistant of the president and agribusinesses and productivity enhancement SSAP Kingsley Uzoma made this known at the policy dialogue tagged depending partnership for scaling up of information and communication technology for development ICT4D for smallholders farmers in Nigeria in Abuja yesterday. It was organized by the Federal Government International Fund for Agricultural Development IFAD and the National Information and Technology Development Agency NITDA. He said that there was an alarming surge of over 80% of 80%, I beg to say, in food importation between 2019 and 2023, but assured that the federal government was committed to reversing the trend. Food prices have been on the rise across Nigeria in recent years. The situation deteriorated due to the impact of government policies such as the removal of subsidy on petrol, amongst others. So, this is no exaggeration, it is actually what it is. when you meet those who are well-to-do in the in the community in a certain area, you'd hear how they complain about how many people come to them daily for help or food. I was passing through somewhere around Bega and I saw older women and older men gathered. I was eager to know what happened. And I walked down there and I asked, what is going on here? They said, oh, that they used to give them food. A lot of them were locked outside while some were opportune to be in the compound. And when I saw the bag of food, when I saw, the nylon of food that was given to them, it can't be more than 2 derica of rice and then, maybe 2 sachet of tin tomato and then, groundnut oil for them to cook. Now, if as little as that could come from somebody to give to the masses, it tells you, and then we can have such a number of people queued outside for just 2 derica of food and that. So you can imagine what people are going through on a daily. Under the hot sun, under that hot sun yesterday, older men and women, just for what to eat, they are not asking for too much, just for what to eat, just because the prices of things has escalated, and looking at what would happen again in the next years if something is not done in the recent years. So a lot of things would go beyond this if nothing is done. Engineer Ola?
Yes, it boils down to the fact that we have been neglecting our agriculture.
Are you sure that's the case?
That is the case.
Because insecurity is
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
We have been neglecting our agriculture because there must be security for all Nigerians in whichever field you are into. There must be security. Government has to do that. When there's no synergy between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Defense, it can't work. That is why you can't stand alone. You have to depend, or you have to lean on others. If the Ministry of Agriculture has a very good rapport with the Ministry of Defense, now what is the structure? What is the strategy? We are going to want to build a farm here on this particular area. Ministry of Defense will be able to advise, do not. This area is porous. If you build any farm here, it will be destroyed. But the Ministry of Agriculture will not go to Ministry of Defense for advice. They want to stand on their own. Yes, we want to pour government money. They know very well that that land is insecure. But because of the gain, they will accrue from that budget. They will go there and say, oh, it's because of the... And they themselves will invite these marauders to come and scatter the whole thing. If Ministry of Agriculture is well planned and monitored, as at now, there are some safe areas in Nigeria where you can do your agricultural business peacefully. That there will be no trouble. And when you rely so much, if Nigerian can say, okay, because government is removing subsidy from petroleum products, from the first instance, this is the product we have in the country. This is the raw material we have in the country. We have crude oil in this country. We cannot refine it because of certain man-made problem we put on ourselves. We cannot refine our oil. We have to lean on importation of fuel, which is wrong for our economy. And somebody has come out bold enough, has the liver to say, enough of this subsidy. It's a scam. And we are still complaining about this subsidy. Are we moving forward or we are moving backward? One point. Now, are you telling me that Nigeria will start importing yams from Cote d'Ivoire? When British came here with cassava, that, okay, we have a very arable land for cassava plantation. All these agricultural products and catch crops, where have they gone to? We now have to rely on importation again. So when we should start talking about self-reliance. In India, they have about 15 types of rice. One with stone for the 30 hours. That, oh, this rice is what I can afford. You pick the pebbles and the stone from the rice. You cook, your children will eat. In Nigeria, we have to depend on the production of rice when we can plant rice in this country. So what we need to do is to now put emphasis on it that government, please, revisit our agricultural project and do something about it. Instead of crying for hunger, there's nothing to eat. If not for Obasanjo, we will have still be importing pure water into this country by now. He had to stand up Or they still fit and say, oh, no more importation of water into this country. All the embassies in Nigeria, you must have to drink water in Nigeria. Don't bring water into the country again. So the same thing is happening now. When people are saying we are hungry, we are not planting food. Though the government has to do something on insecurity, because it is very, very important. And nowadays, according to our former president, Jonathan Ebele, he said he wants to fight insecurity. With what? You must develop equipment, technology to fight insecurity. You have to apply technology to fight insecurity.
Exactly.
So there must be an agreement between all the ministries to work together as one. Ministry of Agri cannot survive without Ministry of Defense. Whatever project you put on, Ministry of Defense will be able to defend your project for you. That, okay, it will grow very well. Every industry in this country that you want to build, invite Nigerian Security Council, the Nigerian Police or Nigerian Navy, or let's say in totality, Ministry of Defense, that we want to erect a factory here. What is your idea? What is the security implication? They'll be able to give you advice. You'll be able to build a nation. You can build, a ministry cannot survive alone. That's my take on that.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Ola. That's how far we can take on today's newspaper review. Thank you so much for being a great part of today's episode. And yes, we hope that this month, that is the new month, which is the last month of the year 2023, would yield good fruits for us. Would have cause to testify that yes, 2023 was indeed a tough one, but then we overcome. We came out. We made it through. That is going to be our testimony. So thank you so much for joining us once again. This is still Cactv and the newspaper review. It's a wrap for today. I remain yours truly, Modo Dominic.
Thank you very much, Modot. My name remains Oladipo.
And together we say, be Nigeria.
Bye, Nigeria. Bye.